is Tim Shuey.
And I'm Stephanie Shuey, and we're going to the Philippines. And so just a little bit about myself, why we chose the Philippines. So I am Filipino American. I still have family in the Philippines. Both my parents are Filipino. And so what gave us the heart for the Philippines is that growing up, when we would go back to the Philippines, because I grew up in America, but going back to visit my family in the Philippines, even when I was little and I didn't even know, Jesus was there, he existed. He was already working in my little heart and breaking my heart for what broke his. And so just going to the Philippines, visiting my family, I would see things as a child like, wow, this girl in the street looks like the same age as me. But where I knew where my food was gonna come from that evening, I had the clothes on I had on, I knew I had a roof over my head. She looked like she was sleeping on the streets. She looked hungry, begging us for food, begging us for help. And that broke my heart. And every time I would go back to the Philippines, continue to see the situation, sometimes getting worse as time went on, and my heart continued to break. So fast forward, Jesus saved me. I mean, he already did, but I accepted that he was my savior. I felt like he was calling me, like, Stephanie, obviously your heart's breaking for a reason. And so see these things I'm exposing to you. And one day I was just like, Lord, what do you want me to do? And I just felt called back as a Filipino I want to go back to my country now that I'm married to Tim, and was kind of just telling him my hopes and dreams in life. And even just talking about, what ministry would look like for us as a couple, shared with him my dreams, shared with him my passions, talked about, street kids in the Philippines, because that's what initially broke my heart, was the street children. Brought him to the Philippines on a couple of trips, and, telling him what I wanted to do out there. God did a work in him, broke his heart too. And so when I was like, what do you think about moving to the Philippines and doing something about this? In short, his answer is basically like, let's do this. So here we are on the next leg of the journey, just trying to get out there now and make something of it, do something about what God broke our heart for.
Some things that are being done that we can get plugged into. We do have a team that's out there already, but some things that we saw is that we could be able to do discipleship, working with women who have been brought out of sex trafficking, some men who are in rehab that are coming out of that and they're giving their life over to Christ. Also doing business as missions with the urban poor, and church partnership evangelism, where we will take teams from the US and partner with churches in the Philippines to reach other communities that don't yet know Jesus, and being able to help disciple and evangelize people who haven't yet come to know Jesus as their Savior. Thank you so much for being a part of what God is doing through us and in the Philippines. Thank you for your prayer support and your financial support. We can't wait to get back out there and to really start getting involved with what God is doing and serving His kingdom and just sharing the gospel with people who don't yet know Jesus. There's different ways you can partner with us, but prayer support is definitely always needed, and financial support is needed as well. And we'd love to partner with people and share what God is doing through us and how God is moving to further His kingdom, and we'd definitely love to have you be a part of it.
We are Stephanie and Tim Shuey, and we're global workers with WorldVenture.
And together, we're engaging the world for gospel impact.
Hello, and good morning and afternoon or evening, wherever you are in the world. We've got a special guest today. We've got John and Laurie Lopez from Colombia. And why don't you two just briefly introduce yourselves to the audience?
Well, we're John and Laurie Lopez. We are serving in Medellin, Colombia, in a small neighborhood of Medellin. And yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, they are streaming live from Colombia. So, we love the technology, allows us to connect with them and with you all. And that it reminds me, this is not just a two-way conversation, this is a three-way. So if you have any comments or questions, put them in the chat. We will see it. And even if we've moved past that subject matter, we will go back to it. So it doesn't matter if you're a slow typist or a fast one, we will go back to your question. So let's start with something a little more fun, because we always hear about ministry work. We hear about all the hard work you all are doing down there. But what do you do for fun in Colombia?
Do we have time for fun?
That's a question I always ask my husband every week. Do I have time for fun? But there's got to be something.
I think one thing that we both grew up in the country. So one thing that we love to do is go camping. And honestly, there's not a ton of time to get away and actually do a great camping trip, but when we can, it's amazing. Living in the Andes, there's just a ton of beautiful places to visit.
Yeah, it is. We have a lot of rivers. The weather is good. I mean, it is warm. It is rainy a little bit, or there are times a lot, but we have good places to go.
Awesome. Yeah, and you're speaking to my heart right now. I absolutely love camping and hiking too, and I don't go camping enough. So how did you both become believers? And we'll get into a little bit of the diverse background. And if you want to, we've put their ministry profile link in the chat. And so you can feel free to click on that and read it as you're listening to or watching the interview here today. But how did you both become believers?
For me, when I was 5, my parents made the decision to follow Christ. And so that night I was sitting on my bed and I thought, Mom, what was that? What just happened this morning? And so she explained it to me. And as a 5-year-old, it just completely made sense. Then through my childhood and adolescence and college, my relationship with Christ continued to grow. I didn't go off and try drugs and all of that stuff. And for a time I thought, I have a really boring testimony. But then I came to realize that, no, I have an amazing testimony. Because of that commitment I made when I was 5 and the choice to be serious about my relationship with the Lord saved me from a ton of stuff. And so, yeah, that's basically my testimony.
Well, and I want to add there's, I think we should wish boring testimonies on people. I heard someone say that. I can't remember if it's a pastor or something. I think we should wish boring testimonies on people, because leaning on Christ, you can stay away from a lot of the stuff that gets you into trouble.
Yeah.
What about you, John?
Well, I think for me it's very attached to my story, my life story, and different times and places. And for example, my parents, my dad grew up in his dad was one of the first Christians in the place where he was living, and but he was not like a serious Christian. Then he married my mom. That it was a very Catholic, from a very Catholic family,
Mm-hmm.
and they were just living a life without God. And until one morning, it was like 4 in the morning, and I hear shootings. And next morning, we found our neighbors killed by the guerrilla group, and it was scary for my family. And next week, a preacher came, and they wanted to hear the gospel, and they start to listening, and then they start be a Christian, and I was interested. I wanted to learn more, but I get baptized when I was like 14, a teenager. And later, when I came to the city by myself, I needed to make my own decisions. So, well, I didn't have more than the Lord with me, and I commit more with Him. Then I understood the gospel later, and my life changed at that moment, and I understood that my life is service. So this like my little story about how I start in this relationship with God, with the Lord.
That is amazing and tough. That is amazing. How now? I have a question because obviously, John, you're from Colombia, and Laurie, you're not. You're from the States. So how in the world did you two meet, and how did John pop the question?
Sure.
I was teaching English at the seminary here in Medellin, and John is a student there, still a student there. And there was one day that I was sitting in my office and I saw this little furry creature go skittering across the floor. Okay, I am petrified of rodents. Petrified, like panic petrified. So, but I held it together enough. My Spanish was not great. I had to look up on Google Translate how to tell the secretary there's a mouse in my office. So I calmly, inside it wasn't. Outside, I walked to the office and told her that there's a mouse in my office. So this little thing comes and she grabs a broom. I'm thinking, oh no. But as we're walking to my office, John was walking by and she said, I think she said there's a mouse in her office. Can you help us? And so he didn't find the mouse.
No mouse.
No mouse.
He didn't find it. And then down the road we met again, and I actually started helping with young adults at his church. And we became really good friends and worked great together. And one day he's like, you know what? Maybe we should explore this relationship. And so we did. And then we were at Latin Link here in Colombia, and met with several people from WorldVenture just to get counsel. And on the way home from Latin Link, John's like, hey, do you want to stop off and get an arepa, which is like a thick tortilla?
Uh-huh.
And I was like, no, I'm not hungry. We ate too much at the retreat. So he's like, okay. So then he stops at a kitchen store. He's like, do you want to stop here? Sure. And he rolled up the windows and turned on the air conditioner. I'm like, why do we need the air conditioner on if we're getting out to go in the store? And so he very nervously,
I was sweating.
I don't even remember what he said, but I handed me the ring and I said yes, and there we are.
That is an adorable story. That is an adorable story.
And we didn't enter to the kitchen
store.
store.
No. That's even better. All right. So describe for me, Laurie, how you came to answer the call to Colombia, and kind of go into also those short-term mission trips and what you did and how they inspired you and what drew you back to Colombia.
Okay. At that time, I was working at Multnomah Bible College, now Multnomah University, in the missions department, and my boss encouraged me to go on short-term trips. And so I did. I had a friend who was a missionary here in Colombia, and so I and another friend came down here just really to be a support to her. It had been her first year on the field, and it was tough, and so then that started it. Every year I came down and brought a team from our church in Portland, and every time it was hard to leave. And And so then after several years of doing that, someone finally said, why don't you come down here full time? And so I went back and I started praying about it. And that was during the time when the economy was tanking in the US. And so I sat down and I'm like, okay, God, you know my heart. I really want to go. But right now does not make any sense at all economically. You don't quit a stable job and go to the mission field and try and raise support right now. So it's got to be from you. 2 days after praying that prayer, my boss at Multnomah called me to his office and he sat me down. He was nervous and he said, I hate to tell you this, but because of the economy, we're needing to cut some positions and yours is one of them. I said, seriously? Okay. Yeah, so God just made it very clear. Yes, this is me. I have my degree and I had my license in physical therapy. And so while I was raising support, I was able to work part-time doing that and survive. So yeah, for me, the call was just very, very obvious and exciting. Like I think I was the only person there that was excited about losing their job.
That's a little bit unusual too, to be excited about that.
Yeah.
Awesome. And so tell me, you, John, were called, you were born in Colombia, as we talked about, but how did you discover God's calling to your own countrymen?
Well, when you feel interested in God and in His stuff and theology, and you want to be more responsible, so I started to going to seminary, and always women ask you, "Do you want to be a pastor?" And I couldn't answer that question because I just wanted to know more about the Lord and to, I will say, serve better. It was not so conscious by then, but so I asked myself, so what is my purpose? And I understood that it is, I just need to be available to serve where the Lord puts you. And I was working for a little company here, and I felt that I was like wasting my life. Like I can do more than I am doing. I was taking care of electrical doors, and I was good in my job, but I feel that I could give more to the community. So I decide, okay, I will quit my job. I will find a half-time job just to survive, and I will give my other half-time to the church. And the pastor was happy with that, but to do that, I needed to quit seminary. So he said, no, you need to come back to seminary. And I started studying and working for the church. And later, it was my first place. And then for different reasons, Laurie started helping me. Then I was start helping Laurie in her ministry. And when we got married, we just got full in the ministry now. Yeah.
Awesome. And you say you're still in seminary right now?
I am. Yeah.
How's that going?
It is going slowly. I am, because I don't want to do two things like I want to do it deep, both of them. So I'm full in my job in the community, and I am taking classes, a class by semester, and I enjoying that because I'm going deep in the classes. So it has been. I feel it has been very helpful to me for understand better and to digest, I will say, the topics and the kind of stuff. And but it is getting long. So now I am working to speed it up a little bit. So I will go to the US next fall to have a how do you call it? It's a pastoral residency that will help me to speed up the
Nice.
credits in Colombia.
Nice. All right. So in the ministry profile, if you all have clicked on it and taken a look at it, you'll notice that they talk about, they have a line in their ministry profile that says, experiencing the tension of a FARC and paramilitary presence near your home. First of all, I'm not as familiar. I'm not sure how many are familiar out there with the term. What is FARC?
FARC, what that means? It is a question.
Yeah, FARC. That's in capital letters, more like it's a initials that you've put. So can you explain a little bit of history, what that is?
Oh yeah. It I don't know. It was the oldest guerrilla group here in Colombia. They start with um, uh, an event that in which one of the leaders from one of the parties were killed was was killed in Bogota, and they started like like to change the country, and it is they are like they describe themselves like an army from the people. So it is like FARC is Fuerza Revolucionaria Armada de Colombia, something like that. And they think that they represented the people and the country. They had a peace agreement about 6-7 years ago. We have dissidences,
Mm-hmm.
and it was better after the agreement, but still we are experiencing another revolutionary or armed groups so
Yeah.
far, still today.
So tell me how, now that we understand a little bit of that background, tell me about what it was like growing up in Colombia. You know, the good stuff too.
uh, it is a beautiful country. We have a lot of resources. We have a lot of mountains where we are. Um, Difficulties like in this kind of country, it's difficult to sell your product, to cultivate your land. Um, like growing up, a lot of work in the farm um, with armed groups. It was very hard for me. I mentioned a little bit about the episode
Yeah.
in when I was like 5 years old, I guess, something like that. And by then I didn't experience fear. And but later we have another even closer episode when
Mm.
the other group, not the guerrilla group, but the paramilitary groups, killed a guy close by my house, very close, and it was scared, very scared, and it was not good times for me, like a teenager. Then I was thinking, like last week, and I think I'm very fortunate that they didn't took me to fight for them. Because it was a thing by them. So God has
Wow.
take care of us, of me in this environment. Yeah.
Thank God. So tell me about what you both. Well, let's go into this question since we're talking about Colombia. This is for both of you. What is the spiritual landscape of Colombia right now? What are its needs?
Um, I think we need hope. Um, we For the war, we have a lot of I will say dreams, and we are looking for hope in that dreams, and we are looking for stuff to fill it up to make it real. And for a lot of people, the narco traffic has been a way to meet these dreams, and it is ugly here and out. And we have a lot of problems because that I feel that, and it is my feeling, I could be wrong, but I feel that in the past the groups, they have an ideology to fight for. Now it is just money. I think it is no more than that. And narco traffic is feeding still that thing. And so we like people, we need to keep to looking for that hope, for achieve that dreams, but in a way that it is legal, and that it is that builds society in place of destroy, because drugs just it's just destruction.
Yes, it is.
So I think it is what we need, a hope that it is guided by the Lord, by um, 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 a desire to build, to have life, to do good stuff, not just think about myself.
Well, and I think too, just from a spiritual side, also is Colombia has been a Catholic nation. And we see devout Catholics, but we also see people that are Catholic because they're Colombian. And there's just this, well, I'm Catholic. What more do I need? They're also coming really strongly into the Protestant side. There's a lot of prosperity teaching. And so going into that, I want to create hope, and it's by financial gain, and the church is telling me it's possible, and people are just ripe for that message here.
Oh man, yeah, definitely stuff to pray for. So tell me how you both are. How are you serving in ministry? I saw a lot of stuff on your ministry profile. So tell me a little bit about each of the stuff you're doing right now.
Right now, we're working with kids at risk, and so each week we have English classes, we have Bible classes. I have a mentoring group. We have a reading club. People here don't like to read; they don't read, and I love to read. There's so much.
Me
John,
too.
we need to give them this love for reading, and so we started a reading group, and my group, we're reading through the Chronicles of Narnia, and so it's been fun to see them getting involved in the story, and it's like, yay, maybe they'll like to read. So yeah, and really, our heart is to have fewer kids that we work with and work with them deeply. So it's like a family. We come together, we sit down, and we have dinner together. Well, most of our kids are not eating well at home. I discovered when I feed them eggs and ham and arepas or toast or potatoes or whatever, they actually can get involved in the study, and next week they'll remember it. It's amazing what protein does for your brain.
It is amazing.
So yeah, so feeding them and also teaching them just life skills, involving them in our lives. And we've recently started once a month having their families come in, and we just have a time like, okay, let's eat pizza and then we'll play games. Last month we played Bunko and they loved it. So yeah, just having a time where it's not just the kids, but being able to get to know the parents and being involved in their lives as well, and playing with them.
Yeah, the kids are definitely connected to the parents. So yeah.
Yeah.
So, and John, tell me a bit about what you do besides the seminary.
I help with the other part of the reading club. I help them with when they need like an academic
Homework, tutor.
homework, yeah, that kind of stuff. I work with the how do you call it when it is the organization part? Talk to the
Yes.
families,
Or yeah.
have the hard conversations.
Everybody's dad.
when we need to talk with the kids or the families about something very how can I say that, very delicate. So I do that.
Right now we're working with a bunch of teenage girls, so there are many things.
That's an adventure.
Yeah. And yeah, I encourage them. I have conversations with them about life. It is ministry with kids is you need to have a lot of time to play with them, to just listen what they want to say, what is their day, what they are suffering of that day, and ask questions, share a little bit of your life, and be there for their crisis.
Yeah.
And it is what I do. Yeah.
Well, and the thing too, most of the kids that we work with are living with either grandparents or a single mom. And so John's role as a dad is huge. Just as that stability as a man, and guidance from a man. It's huge.
So highlight a little bit, what's the family dynamics like in your area?
Normally it's rare see very stable families. I will say from our families, just one has dad and mom together. The rest of them are grandparents taking care of the grandchildren or great grandchildren. Men, they use a lot of drugs and alcohol. They are not a presence there. Moms work more than they need to in a day, and they are kids by themselves in the house and in the street. And yeah, I think it is that dynamic. I think I will say we have a need here for men to be men, to be responsible, to take care of the children, of the people. Men don't want to take responsibility. They just want to be away, and I guess using drugs and beer is just to escape from that reality.
Yeah. So that's something we can probably all pray for if you're watching online today. So tell me, you shared a couple stories. Is there any other stories of how God has used you both in the lives of these kids and in your community?
I think one story that comes to mind, um, well, how he's used us in them. Um, uh,
That's okay. My
no,
mind blanks too sometimes.
no, um, yeah, I think as far as just being used, um, seeing seeing the kids kind of repeating some of the things that we've told them and instructed them in, and then they share it with others, and it's like, oh, they actually are listening.
That's awesome.
So yeah, and then just as far as like sometimes I'm overwhelmed with the fact that I'm just this country girl that came to Medellin, and here I am working in this area. I love the kids. I love their families. Um, and every so often I'm overwhelmed with the fact that wow, they've accepted me. Like they trust us. We had recently one of the dads who he the girl is living with his parents. They're the primary caregivers. But um, he came over one day and he was under the influence of something, and he put his arm around John and proceeded to tell him, "Thank you so much for what you're doing for my daughter. Um, it means a lot to me. Thank you for investing in her." And hearing that was neat to hear. At the same time, because this guy was under the influence of something, there's two guys that live upstairs, and their nephew is part of our ministry, and they were standing there like on the alert, like, what's this guy gonna do? Is John safe? Like they were there ready to protect if needed. um, and so it was just like, wow, we are truly a part of this community, um, and accepted, and yeah, it makes the work a lot easier.
Awesome.
So,
So we have someone, and forgive me if I really do not do good at pronunciation with the name, but we have a seminary from Colombia that is on our YouTube, and it says your email says that you are involved in a church plant. Could you tell us more about that? And are the kids involved in that?
Um, um, we needed to make a decision to switch from that part because after a couple years we didn't see what we wanted to see, and we talked to people around us, and we needed to make that decision, so we couldn't keep going in that direction with this particular church. Now the goal is, and it is part of the pastoral residency, is explore the possibility to plant a church with the families that we have. The problem that we had with the other church, and we can't find an explanation, is they couldn't get together. It was less than 5 minutes walking, and the kids or the families, they didn't come. They just, and we tried to do everything. Our renewal
well, we know.
vow renewal, we invite people from the church and the families, and even that, and nothing happened. So I started talking with people, and we want to explore that possibility to just start a church with the families that we have right now. But it'll be a long,
In the future.
it'll be in the future, yes, because um, we want to do it well. We don't want to push it.
It's that building trust thing. I think you were talking about earlier. They trust you both, but this maybe a church plant is a little beyond their ability to trust, maybe, possibly.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe.
There is weird things.
That's fine.
That
You don't need to say what those things are. That's all right. So thank you for asking that question, and that does remind me to remind you that if you have questions, put them in the chat. Put them in now, so we don't miss your questions. If someone was thinking about serving in Colombia, what advice would you give them?
Learn Spanish.
That would be very good. Yes. What other advice would you give them, though?
I think don't fight the culture. There are things that are very different here from another places. Traffic, the logic on traffic.
There is
Well,
no logic.
there is logic, and yeah, be prepared to be open, but don't expect people be open. We in this area, people are not open to food. So if you want to share a little bit of your culture here and you want, then enjoy. Uh, be
Cautious.
cautious, and do like be creative. I will say, and invite people, and don't push your culture to the people, because our food is simple. It is um, I will say simple. There is
It's really good, but it can be a little boring at times.
yes. Yeah, so a Colombian from this region, they could eat beans every day, and it is fine for them. They love them. So yeah, what is another thing? Punctual. um, don't expect people be punctual. Is It doesn't mean you don't be punctual. You need to be punctual. You need to do your part and be at the time when you said. But don't expect people show up at time. If they learn, if they respect you, trust you, they will learn it from you, and they will.
No, they
No.
won't.
No.
I have friends I love dearly, but I just know that they're going to be 30 minutes to an hour late.
Oh, wow.
Maybe it's Laurie's friends.
Maybe
That's hilarious. It's not the first time I've heard that. I've heard, I think there was another missionary a long time ago that said North Americans are the only ones that seem to be the, very punctual, on time, and very schedule orientated, versus other cultures, maybe not so much.
it's not important.
Yeah.
No, what I've discovered is they start getting ready at the time that they're supposed to be there. So
Awesome. Well, that is definitely something to, keep in mind if any of you out there are thinking of serving in Colombia. In fact, if you're thinking about serving in Colombia, you can fill out complete a form at worldventure.com/go, and that is not a commitment. It just means you can talk to someone. We just get some things out of the way so you can talk to someone, and you can talk to them about what you see in serving in Colombia. So let me ask, on that note, what opportunities do you see for someone to serve? You mentioned in our conversation that they need hope. And if I heard you correctly, they need hope as far as how to build something that could bring in some income in an honest way. So what do you see as opportunities around you that if someone felt a calling to Colombia where they could best serve?
I think there are business opportunities. I will say these people in this region are very hard workers, and there are a lot of people to they want to learn and they want to run a business. So business is an opportunity. It is something that it could be a good opportunity to achieve that, to provide income for families and have like an environment for ministry. Also, the social ministries like us that we teach English. English is a very they people want to learn English here, the kids. So it is a very good opportunity to same make richer or bigger their potential for life in the case of the kids, and it is an opportunity to have relationships and share the gospel too. um, I think that too could be good opportunities for serving here in Colombia.
Well, and I think too, there's obviously the issue of drug trafficking as well as prostitution is huge in the big cities. Um, and so those opportunities are there as well. We have a friend who has a home for girls who ended up pregnant, and just caring for them through that. Our ministry is on the side of prevention, not getting them there, keeping them off the street. But there's opportunity for ministering with kids currently living on the street. Um, um, yeah, there's a lot of areas that don't have a solid evangelical church. So somebody who wants to do church planting, um, there's work with indigenous. Um,
Awesome.
yeah, there's great need in this country, and there's great need in our ministry too.
Well, list those needs, would you?
Somebody is a teacher and loves kids, has a heart for sharing the gospel with kids and their families. We need them desperately. So
Awesome. Again, if any of you hear that and you feel like you want to explore that possibility of serving with John and Laurie or in other areas of Colombia, just fill out the Go form at worldventure.com/go. So where is your support at right now, percentage-wise? About?
I think we are at close to 85%.
Good. That's good. And how can the audience pray for you both personally and professionally?
I think personally, just that God would continue to grow our marriage, that we would be just have a solid marriage, that the kids and their families can see that they can see Christ in us and in our marriage. Two, just in the busyness of ministry and school, and just that we would use our time well, but in that busyness, not drift apart, that God would just protect that for us. Two, as far as ministry wise,
I think faith, that the Lord grows up our faith, because when the people open the door of their heart, they give you trust, you start listening and knowing stuff that it is very, very heavy, very uh, difficulty, and your feeling is we can't help as we want. Um, the only resource is the Lord, and well, there are times when people don't understand that surrender before in front of the Lord is the solution, but and we are trying to give that message, and there are times when it is not well received, and we lose the faith, and there are times we feel that we have the responsibility to fix the thing, and the only way that we can survive to that feeling is no, God is in control, and still I'm there, but it is God's will and God's people, and He will take care of them, and He will use us in ways that we don't expect. So yeah, grow our faith.
Yeah. And in ministry, like I mentioned earlier, a good number of the kids that we're working with right now are teen or preteen girls. John is learning a ton about that. But it's a roller coaster right now. And yeah, there are times when it feels like I have no idea how to, God help me, because I don't know. So yeah, just pray for wisdom, pray for patience, love, that we would continue to love these kids deeply, even when they're at their ugliest. um,
Yeah.
yeah. At 13 and 14, we've all gone through it. There can be some brutal moments, but yeah, just that God, we would feel God's presence in that, and in the midst of those hard days.
Awesome. Yeah. You never know what seeds you're planting now that you may not see that might be sprouting. God is kind of funny that way, where the seeds are planted, you've planted, you watered, you planted, you watered, and then one day you hear from the grapevine that somebody you had lost hope in has turned around.
Yeah.
Yep.
So if any of you would like to write a prayer in the chat, we are close to closing out our time today. If you very quickly type it out, we may use your prayer as we close. Just as a reminder, we've got a few online events coming up. We've got how to get your congregation excited about missions workshop. We have prayer time every month with Joshua Project. We've also got a new session that we teamed up with Wycliffe, SIL Nigeria, called Soulful Sessions. We'll be talking about prayer and having a real fun conversation. But we also have some other interviews of other global workers with WorldVenture. We've got the Shuis coming up and Africa Pruitt from France, as well as others that we have not yet listed, but they will be there, and I think you'll enjoy that. So if you have any other questions, now's your time. Put it in the chat. We're about to close in prayer. If you're watching this after we're live, feel free to put your questions in. I'll make sure that John and Laurie get your question. If you'd like to be put on their newsletter or contact them directly, private message us on our social media or email me and with your email and what you'd like, and I will forward that on to John and Laurie. So thank you everyone for joining us. I'm going to close in prayer right now. John and Laurie, stay on after the live is done. Lord, Laurie has a heart for the Colombian kids and such a heart for their community. I pray, Lord, that you strengthen their marriage. I pray, Lord, that you open up more conversations, that the church plants that could possibly be in the future, that could be some doors may open there and some bridges may be built there for kids to come. Lord, I pray for the families of Colombia. I pray for everything that happens in Colombia, and I lift them all up to you. In Jesus' name we praise. Amen.
Amen.
So thank you everyone for joining us today. We stay tuned to the next live stream. Have a good day, everyone.